Welcome to Coming Out of the Spiritual Closet with your host, me, Brittany Wittig. Join me every week to explore and demystify the world of modern spirituality. All right, welcome back. Thanks for joining me again this week. And we are here again with Nikoletta of Luna Seas. And Nikoletta is an astrologer, an evolutionary astrologer. And she is here to talk in more detail about breaking down your astrological chart. And she's actually going to use my chart as an example for that. So you'll get an idea of what a reading is like, and you'll also get information about how to look at your own chart and kind of break it down for yourself. Nikoletta, how are you doing today?
Hey, nice to be back.
Yes.
I'm good. How are you?
I am great. And I should mention to everyone that it's episode 8, the first episode that I did with Nikoletta, and it was just amazing. It was loaded with fabulous information. I mean, it just totally blew my mind. It was awesome. So if you have not listened to that episode, I definitely recommend checking that out because it was amazing. Nikoletta is going to have a look at my chart today. Is it a birth chart? Is that what we would call it? Okay.
Yeah. A birth chart or a natal chart.
People can get these online on their like calculators. They can get them on, right?
Yeah. So there's lots of different avenues, different interpretations that you can get online that have loads of really useful and informative information. That's the first place I looked at was when was one of these websites. Well, I actually used to go on all of them.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And all the ones I knew, and I didn't actually know what any of the stuff really meant. I used to just read the interpretations and be like, oh my God, it's me.
Yeah, cool.
And I think I used to get really, really overwhelmed. Like It's just a lot, and you just don't. Someone will say to you, what's your moon sign? You're like, well, I've read that, but I don't know which one is my moon sign. And it's saying all these funky words like, what's a trine? What's a sextile? What's going on there?
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. I mean, I have looked my chart up a few times on a few different sites, but man, it is exactly like you say. It's really overwhelming. It's really confusing. When I don't really know what it all means, it's so hard to remember anything other than just my sun sign, you know?
Yeah. And it's kind of difficult because on a website, I think they're brilliant. They're very informative, but they can't always say how it all relates as one. That's what you'd get with an astrologer.
Right.
And I feel like it's important to know what each little element means, but it doesn't bring it together. So sometimes it will say two things that completely oppose each other. And you're like, well, which one is it?
Yes, I've experienced that. Yeah, it's confusing.
Yeah, it is. And that is because it will say you're you're a Capricorn moon.
Right.
It will say, okay, that's the element of the Capricorn moon. Oh, but you're a Scorpio sun. Those two are different.
Very, yes. And I don't understand that, actually.
So astrologer will say how they can work together and how it can make it,
Cool.
But what I was thinking we could do is I could first say what's an easy way to break down the chart. So you've gone on those websites, you've kind of understood it to a degree.
Sure.
But you kind of want to learn how to start reading a birth chart, your own birth chart.
Yeah, perfect.
So you go on that website and it will make you put all your details in. And the first thing that will come up is your sun sign. Right. Usually straight after they put the moon.
Okay.
And then they do it by which planets move the fastest, because those will have the biggest impact on you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we'll have your sun, your moon, your Mercury, your Mars, your Venus. They all will come next.
Okay.
The ones lower, so your Pluto, Neptune, Saturn, they're more generational. So you'll see that what I would do if I was trying to learn, at the top, it will say moon in Scorpio. If you want to know more about your moon, just keep Googling or going on Instagram and searching moon in Scorpio, and it will give you more traits to do with that sign. The easiest way to think of a birth chart is it's all interconnected in the sense that we have 12 signs, 12 houses, and the signs relate to the houses. So the first sign is Aries, and that has similar traits to the first house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is really helpful because I've seen the houses and I've seen the signs, but I haven't understood that there's any connection or what the connection is.
There is a connection.
Okay.
Yeah, so the second house is Taurus, is all about your security, what makes you feel safe. You know, these are all Taurus themes.
Oh, okay, right, okay.
We have all the elements of the chart within us. You know, you might have a planet, so it's a little bit more emphasized, but you are the whole zodiac. You know, you're made from dust and stars.
Right, yes. Yes.
It's all within you. The planets sort of emphasize and highlight it a little bit more. Okay. That's not to say an empty house is not powerful. Some of my most empty houses have been the most powerful because when there isn't a planet there and other planets start traveling through it, you get to learn what that house is about.
I've wondered about that, about the houses where I don't have any planets. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. You right now would have, I don't know, a couple of years ago, let's say, you would have had Uranus in the 11th house. You have what you call an intercepted chart. Okay. And what that means is that, we said there's 12 houses and 12 signs.
Yes.
A lot of charts will have a sign associated to a house. You have one of the signs is not associated to a house. It's right in the middle of it. So it doesn't rule a house.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah, and what that means is the traits that embodies is something that you didn't have immediate access to. It's something that you've had to learn. So if we go, let's do our favorite day, 2012.
That was a big one.
Yep, and it's right there in the
really?
2012. Uranus was transiting, and Uranus is a really slow-moving planet. It was transiting that 11th house, so you would have started getting more familiar with that 11th house, especially because it's Uranus. So Uranus can be surprises, it can be awakenings, it can be things happening that are very unexpected. You have it in the 11th house, which is your sense of community changes.
Oh my gosh. This is so insane. So 2012, we talked about how in the last podcast about 2012 was when my mom passed away. Mm-hmm. But what also happened in that year that was really significant was I went to Burning Man for the first time. And that was my first experience with, in a lot of ways, it was my first experience with any kind of real, actual, unconditional love. Mm-hmm. And it was very powerful because it's a communal event, and it's very much about community. And it completely shifted the way I looked at community, the way I looked at relationships, the way I looked at life, love. It's so interesting. Yeah.
And that would have continued for you it would be an ongoing thing for a few years with Uranus there. So it's a slow moving planet. So it just keeps happening, like little snippets of these little bits of knowledge. Right now it's actually moved into your 12th house. So it's been more of a inward journey for the last, since last year.
Oh, yeah.
So now it's coming to know your deep sense of self.
Yes.
And,
wow. That is so crazy accurate. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How cool.
So it moved into the 12th house last year.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Around, let's do the month. Oh, yeah, July. July last year.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. That's really spot on. Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
a very internal journey for the last year, for sure. Much more than ever in my life before.
Yeah. Well, you have a lot of planets in the 6th house.
Yes, I've seen that. I don't know what it means, but I've seen it.
I will let you know. But for now, yeah, that Uranus is hitting all of those. Like, it's moving towards your Saturn. So within the next year, you will start being very serious on. So the 6th house has everything to do with being of service, of helping, of caring. It's all about, how you care for others. And you have, as I said, a whole bunch of planets there, including your Sun and Saturn. So for you, the next couple of years, your next step of being a healer, what can you do? How can you be a more responsible healer? How can you be a healer that's more serious with your duties? How can you? It's taking it to that next level of, how am I gonna make this a solid foundation? How am I really gonna help?
Right. Okay.
Your moon will hate it because your moon wants stability. Your sun is okay with it not being stable, and that's how they complement each other.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, so you're a Scorpio sun, so you actually thrive in like intensity and
yeah. But I do like that stability too. That's that Capricorn moon. Yeah, and that's why it's been so confusing to me. Like, how do these two work together? But I like intensity, but I also like a plan.
Yeah, exactly. And it's your duty to basically make them work together. Because your moon is in the 8th house, you can find that through partnership, not just relationship, business partnership, but relationship as well.
This is so interesting. I have to tell you, it's so crazy accurate. I mean, something I don't talk about as much publicly, or haven't talked about as much publicly, is the fact that in 2012, I also met the man who would become, years later, we were friends for a while, but would become years later my life partner. And he's a Capricorn sun. We are just, I mean, it's like, as we've come together, his stability and my, like, let's go do the thing, have balanced out so beautifully. And I feel like and actually in the plans I've been making for the next year, it very much has to do with us continuing to find that balance point for both of us. That's fascinating.
Well, that's amazing that he's got the sun there, because he has it in your house of contracts. So the 8th house is, so your 7th house is your house of relationship, but the 8th house is where you can actually build, like, have a contract with someone.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And the sun and moon, when they make a link like that in a chart, it's very, it shows a strong compatibility. Yeah, very strong. Very strong. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's almost like you guys, he intuitively knows how to fill your emotional needs, and you know what to do to make him feel alive.
Yeah. Oh, that's exactly.
Yeah.
It's amazing. This is just blowing my mind. And I guess, the thing is, and I'm sure some people listening too, the thing is, you see these birth charts, and like you said, there's these paragraphs about, this is what your moon means, and this is what your Mercury means. And it, it's not, it's so hard to understand how it all comes together. Yeah. But when speaking, with someone who really understands how it all comes together, and you're so intuitive, it's just amazing how this is just exact.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Oh, I love that. Well, I think I love those websites because they're good if you're learning. So if someone
Sure.
wants to learn, they are amazing because they will break down their information. But when you're initially learning, it's first getting your head around what all the planets and the signs mean.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and then gradually building it up. I think we have a culture at the moment where we just want to know everything immediately. And
Yeah.
but with astrology, there is so much there that you could overwhelm yourself and confuse yourself. I remember when I did my course, my I loved my course, but I was just like, come on, like this is basic. Tell me more.
Right. Sure. Sure.
But I
Yeah.
love that he did that now because everything is so ingrained in me.
Yeah.
And that's what I would recommend to someone learning. So, do you want to know something that's really interesting about that 2012 date?
Yes.
So, you said this is when you met the life partner.
Yes.
You had that year, Pluto just moved through that eighth house of contracts.
Okay.
Pluto is the death rebirth cycle.
Oh.
So it's putting an end to, and I remember you saying you leaving like work, starting traveling. So it's leaving other contracts and making way for something new to come in.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That's so crazy.
It's like Phoenix energy.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that, I mean, that's what 2012 was all the seeds for that. I went to Burning Man, which changed the way that I relate to the world, to humanity. My mom passed away, so I was no longer taking care of her. I met a man who would become my partner, though we were just friends then, because I was, I was married to someone else. And it's so interesting because it is when all of that started to, it was like the beginning of the transition for sure.
It's incredible. And that Pluto is actually still going through that eighth house. So when we look at a Pluto transit at the beginning, it's sort of like everything starts to break down.
Okay.
But by the end of it, it's you finding your power within that situation.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
It really is like Phoenix rises from the ashes. Like the ashes is like the first couple of years, and then you see it coming to.
Yes, that is exactly. I mean, that's exactly what's been happening because, yeah, 2012 to like 2016, I would say was just huge dissolution of everything in my life. I got divorced, I moved states, I changed my career a couple times. And then the last several years have really been about figuring out my own power in a way. Yeah, coming into that, all that change, like really coming into it and fully embodying it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, you've had Neptune in that 10th house. So, you said you've changed jobs quite a few times. And what Neptune can be is having a little bit of like rose tinted glasses on.
Okay.
And the 10th house is your career, but it's also where you're heading in life. So the shadow, because as we said, there's shadow and light side. The shadow side is having those rose tinted glasses, which would explain why you're changing work, because you have that, but then you'll have other transits like impacting it, and you'll be like, oh wait, no, that wasn't the way I thought it was going to be. Overall, Neptune is your intuition and your inner guidance.
Oh, okay.
In those instances where you have been trying to make career or life path decisions, if you've done it through logic, it would have had the rose tinted glasses. Whereas if you completely felt into that gut feeling, it would have,
Oh my gosh, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. And I feel like I have only just in the last couple years started to understand that I can't be using logic and what seems like it should work as my guidance for that. Like I need to tap into my intuition and really let my heart guide me. Yeah, that's been brilliant. And I just last week with that full moon lunar eclipse, I had an epiphany about this. I realized like, oh wait, I need to be following my inner guidance on this.
It's interesting because Jupiter has just entered Pisces. It is transiting through your 10th house. Now Jupiter is sort of known as a lucky planet. It means it's beneficial.
Okay.
How you get the beneficial energy sometimes might not seem like it's beneficial. Like sometimes you could be like, why is this happening? But overall, it will turn into something of merit.
Okay.
You've had in the last month when Jupiter entered Pisces that it was going like it was in that 10th house. It's gonna be in there for I think another month. Then it's gonna go back into Aquarius, and then the whole of next year is going to be in Jupiter. So next year you're going to have quite an impactful year career-wise.
Okay.
And it will be beneficial for you, but at times it just might seem, I wouldn't say overwhelming, but at the same time, because you've got the nodes going through the 6th and the 12th house, you're still getting a new sense of self. So they're kind of working together.
Okay.
You're in the ground of trying to find who you are as like a healing practitioner, because you got your Gemini rule chart, so your Mercury rule chart, so you need to use your voice. That's why I think this podcast is brilliant.
This was very guided for sure.
Yeah.
It came from meditation, actually, the idea.
Yeah. Well, using your voice is very impactful for you. And there's power to your words. You've got a Mercury in Scorpio. Okay. When you speak, it can really help people raise their vibration and help them. Everyone has the codes within them. They just need it activated, and you have the power to activate that in other people.
Wow. So I had a channeling session with a woman a couple months ago. Literally, that's what came through. Exactly that my voice is able to help activate the codes within people.
Yeah.
Wow.
It is.
Wow, that's amazing. And
it's heal them
so cool.
Because it's in the 6th house.
Okay, I'm taking note, universe.
With a Capricorn moon and the interception you have within your chart, you hold yourself to a very high standard.
Yeah.
Capricorn moons do that. You have a benchmark, and it can never be good enough for you.
Yes, that's something I've had to really work on.
But definitely. Also the interception you have, which is what we said you only get access to later on through the transits. So you had the Libra Aries. So that usually translates to someone when they're a child or in their younger years, feeling a little bit like a misfit, like they didn't belong, feeling like you couldn't step into like that, a role of like leadership. You felt like you didn't belong, you were always sidelined, and you had something to say, but the community you were in, you couldn't really articulate it.
Yes.
And it is, for you, it is deeply rooted in like being like when you were a child, seeing lots of injustices and things that you didn't think were quite right or quite fair, and just feeling a little bit helpless towards it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I had a very troubled upbringing. Definitely. I mean, that's spot on. And one of the things I think about that was significant for me was there was this like observing the injustice. Yeah, and also like you're saying, not really feeling heard or able to feel heard, for sure. Yes.
Because it's Aries and Libra, their polarity is Venus and Mars. So there's also a sense of gender that plays a part in this, or masculine and feminine energies. So some people, I've seen it translated as them being very clear roles for genders within the household.
Oh yeah, that was definitely true.
And also expectations of each gender.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely. It was a very conservative, a kind of old-fashioned, misogynist kind of situation for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
That not feeling quite right for you, and you having to rebuild that interception, but also being an own authority in how you will be a leader and a healer. You know, leaders are usually seen as a masculine energy.
Right. Yes.
So it won't be something that comes naturally to you. But you don't want to go back into the old stuff of being the dutiful person.
Right. That's so interesting. That's something very specifically this year that has been a huge focus for me is codependency and really letting go of that caretaking thing, setting healthy boundaries. And it's interesting because it is, I haven't thought of it this way, but in a way it is. It's like it's healing my masculine.
Well, the codependency would also fall in you've got Mars in Virgo, and the needing to help is very Mars in Virgo.
Okay.
Mars again is Aries. It's the first house. It's the masculine energy.
Oh, okay.
But in Virgo is again, it's that sixth house energy. It's the healing energy, and it's in your fourth house, the house of home. If you combine those together, you want to take the person you're with, and you want to heal them. You want to support them. But you do it with such a sense of, I wouldn't say pride, but it's almost without logic. You just like, this is what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh, it's so interesting. That totally resonates. Yeah. Well, it's one of the things that's really brilliant about my partnership. That has definitely been my tendency. And there's just so much support and healthy communication that I've been able to really, really work on healing that need to caretake and fix, and that codependent tendency that I have.
Now, I'm so glad you say this, because when I look at your chart, so we have quite a few things that determine karma and like your karma within your lifetime. The main one is the nodes, the south node and the north node.
Okay.
So the south node relates to your past life story, and your north node is the direction you need to be moving towards. Your south node is in the seventh house, so the house of relationship.
Okay.
And what that shows in me is in a past life, there was deep relationship karma that you needed to heal within this life.
Wow.
I feel like there was something religious or something, because you've got Neptune and Jupiter there, and it's in Sagittarius. There's some sort of limiting beliefs that you had within these relationships, and in this lifetime you have had to walk the path of shutting down all those limited beliefs.
Yes. Wow. That is so interesting. Definitely. I mean, it feels like so much of the work that I have done, especially in the last, 6-7 years after that 2012 point, really feels like so much has been around codependency in relationships. I've been a serial monogamist. I was a serial monogamist for most of my adult life. Yeah, really, really starting to look at that codependency and what am I believing about relationships. Relationships have been sort of this external thing that I think is going to save me or help me on some level. Like I felt that way for a long time. And it's interesting when you talk about past lives, and one of the things that's interesting about my partner now is we've had multiple experiences where it feels like we're kind of remembering a past life together.
Yeah.
It does feel like there was some real intention and purpose, like some real purpose to us connecting. Like I can almost feel that we're healing something from before this life.
Yeah. No, I feel with strong karmic bonds like that, it definitely is that. I believe with all of our relationships, our deep, intimate ones, we are in some way working through some karma. But when it's a deep bond like what you guys have, you guys chose each other to incarnate into this lifetime to help build and grow with one another, which I just think is one of the most beautiful things in the world.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. It's completely different than any relationship or connection I've ever had. Very unique.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's like one of the things that's been fascinating about this relationship too. It's a monogamous relationship again, right? Except that the feeling of it is completely different. Like we're both very independent. There's this very it's just it's a very unusual by any like regular cultural standards. It's a very unusual connection and way of being in relationship. It's like we're two individuals who are just choosing to spend time with each other instead of that codependent like.
I feel like it's happening a lot. A lot of people are waking up to what a relationship should be, what it really means to them, finding that these traditional roles that we are expected to play and the traditional things that we're meant to do doesn't really work. Yeah. And why can't we build a relationship exactly how we want it if both of the people are consenting?
Right. Definitely. Yeah, it's all about like being two sovereign beings.
Yeah. And I think that's just so powerful and so beautiful. I feel when I've had discussions about this with some people that they feel that it will mean that the person doesn't care about you as much. And it's like, well, actually, no, the relationship isn't about not caring. It's about you being so comfortable and so good within yourself that you don't need the person to be there.
Yes.
It's just an absolute magic, beautiful, blissful thing that they are. And you feel so lucky and grateful that they are.
Yes, that's exactly it. That you just described it perfectly.
Love to know, last year around May time, up until this May, how has that been translated with your sense of self?
Oh my gosh, it's completely shifted. I'm 1,000 times more comfortable, confident. I love myself more than I ever have. The big thing is I trust myself in like a deep, fundamental way. Like I trust myself and I trust my gut feelings now. It's been a huge transformation, actually, mostly internally.
So you have the North Node was going through your first house. So the North Node is a karmic point. So it was going through your first house, and that is where your natal North Node is.
Okay.
Where it was when you were born. So they made what we call a conjunction. So it's when the 2 points meet up in the sky.
Okay.
So it was a completely karmic time for you, and it was a deep time for you to let go again of those limiting beliefs within relationship and get a really, really strong sense of self.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Yes. So one of the big things that happened around December was when it really happened. I let go of a number of close friendships that once I stepped out of codependency, there wasn't any foundation, it turned out. I really was like, I have to walk away from this then because I've grown beyond this point. Yeah, major change.
Yeah. And I feel like for a lot of us light workers, we've been having that. Like I've certainly seen it within myself, but I've seen it in my friends as well. It's almost like we have this awareness of these people that we were helping and how it was, as you said, codependent and how it was holding you back and how now you can, for me anyways, translated, how can I take that energy and put it into my work and help heal a collective?
Yes. And that's exactly what happened. Yeah, my work with the collective just skyrocketed as soon as I walked away from these relationships that were taking up so much of my energy. Just these few specific individuals. And suddenly it was like, oh, I have all of this space to help more people in a way that, and also in a way that's healthy for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. It doesn't have to be goodbye forever. It could be, hey, this energy isn't working right now.
Yeah.
it's that whole, you know, as we said, the phoenix thing. It's you need to clear the energy to let something new in.
Yes.
But it can be really hard because it doesn't mean you don't love the people.
Right. Oh, definitely. And yeah, it is hard. It is hard to do that for sure. And yeah, the thing that I kept, just like you say, the thing that I kept focusing on is as doors close in my life, inevitably it makes space for new doors to open.
I love it. Good. Are you feeling good about it all now?
Oh yeah, fantastic. Really, really good. And you know, it didn't take too long actually before I felt really solid about it.
So you have Chiron at the moment in the 11th house. So that's the house of community and friends. And Chiron is the wounded healer.
Okay.
So those two, for me, when I interlink them and interlink it back to the intercepted Aries, that Chiron is going into that interception at the moment, I'm not surprised that you are finding that you need to let go of these people. Because now you are coming into your position as every healer has been a healer their whole life.
Sure.
It just plays out in different ways.
Right.
This is now it's you with a sense of awareness coming into that and being able to be a more active healer within your community rather than just your immediate circle.
Right. Okay.
So that's how that's playing out. So everything that we do starts to come out in the chart.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible.
It still amazes me. I've been doing this for years and I'm still like, what?
I know, it blows my mind. This is amazing. It's just so accurate. And yeah, it makes sense. Like this, so much of what I'm healing and focusing on recently does have to do with my friendships and setting healthy boundaries. And like that's been my thing, like boundaries. Like I've been really learning that and working on that.
With the boundaries thing, I've gone down a really bad hole with that before, in the sense that if I was setting boundaries and people weren't respecting them, I was immediately cutting people out. My Scorpio moon energy.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, you don't respect me, out. And my lesson from that has been that's not always the kindest thing to do.
Sure.
I feel like the word boundaries has kind of been misconstrued. Anyway, for me, it did for a little while. I was following boundaries advice from Instagram and
yeah.
I just feel like, you know, when you're setting boundaries with people, be mindful that it's not going to be an overnight thing, and difficult conversations will need to be had. And
and it's interesting that you say that, because that's something also that's my snap to thing, right? Like, nope, I'm done with you. Nope, I'm done with you.
I mean,
that has definitely...
you have got lots of planets in Scorpio, so...
Right. And it's interesting that you bring this up specifically, because that is one of the things that I've been really looking at recently with my boundary setting, is how do I set these boundaries, but then also follow up with difficult conversations that allow the relationship to move through it.
Yeah.
And not just end, because I totally have that tendency. I mean, that's my immediate response is... Yeah. And I'm actually working on that really actively.
Me too. Like, I think for me it was, you know, one person could do one bad thing to me, and it's just like, I didn't take into account all the other good things. I was like, that's it. You've broken my trust. You're gone.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, well, actually, from one mistake, are we going to not take into consideration all the beautiful and loving things they have done?
Right. Yes.
It is a journey.
And it's just, I totally relate to that. I mean, it's brilliant. And I think, I bet a lot of people can relate to it, you know?
Especially Scorpios, because Scorpios have this thing that's, so Scorpio goes between worlds. Like, they're both in the earthly plane and the water. They are, in that sense, to me, very independent. And it's like, if you harm me, I don't need you.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Deeply intuitive as well, and your whole chart shows deeply intuitive, which makes me even more excited to come to you for a reading when I need one.
Oh, great. Yes, we'll definitely do that.
Yeah, I'm definitely, you are the person I want to come to next. Yeah, because when I look at a chart, I can sense the person's energy. I could sense your energy from before and how you held the space for me. But when you look at the chart, you can see you've done a lot of inner work.
Interesting. So you can see that.
For me, I can feel it.
Okay.
So like with you, when you're doing your tarot or your cards, you know, you this person sits in front of you, you can feel their energy.
Yes. Oh yeah.
That's the difference between going to an astrologer and going, like, looking at something online.
Right. Oh, okay. I see. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, because the astrologer will be able to intuitively feel whether it's the higher energy, the lower energy, how it's coming out.
Right. Okay, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I look at your chart, I immediately just, like, I felt it. Like, I just felt it. I was like, wow. Another interesting thing with your chart is, so we have Black Moon Lilith.
I've heard of this. I don't know anything about it.
Good.
But I've
That's
heard
what
those
I like
words.
to hear.
Yeah, I've heard those words used.
So a lot of astrology is based on archetypes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Tarot too.
Yeah, exactly. And you can interlink astrology and tarot very easily. Lilith is the first woman to ever walk the planet. So she was before Eve.
Okay.
And she was created at the same time as Adam.
Interesting.
But she was shunned. And she represents the divine feminine in its purest, rawest form. Yeah.
Interesting.
So she's like the wild woman.
Okay.
And also, like, again, very intuitive, very connected to me. She's the witch, she's the ethereal, she's the, you know, that kind of energy.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
You have that in your 10th house, so your house of work, career, life path, but it's conjunct what we call the midheaven, what you're going towards. So a big thing for you is, as you've already said, you've had that upbringing of confinement within the family and gender roles.
Oh, yeah.
That Lilith is pushing you to go into what divine femininity means for you.
Okay.
And for you to really fully embrace and go for that natural woman instinctual self.
Okay. Yeah, I feel that.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. No, I mean, I really feel that. It's interesting. It almost puts words to a feeling that I haven't put words to.
Oh, okay.
Like, I really sense that energetically, but I haven't been able to really put that into words. Something that my partner has said, and he means this in a very complimentary way, because we're very out. So we spend a lot of time outside. Like, we camp sometimes for months at a time. At some point, I was like, hair all crazy, out camping, dancing around, not wearing shoes. And he was like, "You're basically feral." But it's totally a compliment, because I love that Lilith. About myself. That's so interesting. And that's recent. Like, in recent, you know, the last 5 years, I've really started to come into that.
Interesting.
The wild woman.
Yeah. It's going to be even more highlighted 2023. End of 2022, 2023. You'll even feel it even stronger, which is exciting, because as you said, you know, you said you're doing a lot of inner work and having to confront things, and you're like, oh, I thought I was at that level, now I'm like awakening to a new level. It's going to happen like that.
Cool.
I know. Yeah, I'm so excited to see how it pans out.
Me too. Yeah, I've had this feeling lately, like I'm on an escalator or something, and like sometimes it pauses, but it just keeps going, you know?
Yeah, I can see that. This year and next year, the build up to it is becoming a little more serious with your healing path.
Okay. Yeah, and that it's interesting, because some of the epiphany that I had very recently with that lunar full moon lunar eclipse is very much about how I can translate what I'm doing in my life, and actually some of this, it sounds like Black Lilith energy that is very much a part of my personal life, translating that and relating that to the collective, so that in some way, it hasn't all come together yet, but in some way, so that I can help people. Like, I'm about to be spending a lot more time out in nature again and figuring out how to help people with that.
I love that. And I love to see what you do. I'm excited.
Me too. It'll be, I'm just letting it come to me as it comes.
And that's the best way to do it. And that is Lilith.
Oh.
Lilith, yeah. Lilith
Okay.
allows you to, because she's so in tune with everything, she allows it to happen. She doesn't get worried about the past. She doesn't get worried about the future. She just allows.
Oh my gosh. We're not on video. We're on podcast. I forgot for a second. But I was going to show everyone, but I'll describe it. I'm sitting near my altar, and my word for this year that came to me in a meditation, I wanted to have a word for the year. And the word was allow. And so I made this big picture of the word allow that hangs over my altar as a reminder. And that has been so essential. That's been huge for 2021, is that idea of just allowing.
I love that. But it also makes me laugh because I thought of, so you can tell probably from my accent that I'm British.
Mm-hmm.
There's a British slang that goes, allow it, allow it.
Oh, okay. I've never heard that. How funny. I'm so American.
But it had a negative connotation. It was sort of like a teacher asked someone to do something. The student would go, allow it.
Oh, I get it. Okay. Oh.
And then a few years later, I realized it wasn't allow it. It was allow it. And I was just like, that makes no sense.
Yeah, that's so funny.
But I love that it's your word, like allow.
Yes.
I would never have it because of that, but it's such a powerful word.
Yeah, it just really, really came through right before that great conjunction in December, which I heard about and also didn't totally understand, but I felt it. I knew it was important.
It was important. And you did feel it. So that great conjunction, it was a knock effect of a big awakening for our collective. And for some people, it would have played out in sudden events, realizations, etc. But everything is energy. So it will be, something will happen around that time or within the next few months, because in February we had a lot of Aquarian energy.
Okay.
But because the 5D is moving fast, that's all happening there. But by the time it hits us on the 3D, it's actually slower processing. People will look back in 2-3 years' time and go, oh yeah, around December through to, well, this whole year is a big year.
Oh yeah.
Especially June. June is massive.
I'm feeling it already. I really am. Yeah.
June is huge.
Okay.
They'll look back and be like, oh yeah, that, obviously we have a global pandemic.
Yeah.
But it's the after effects of that, like how it's changed your work, how it's changed your community, how it's changed how you view the world. But people are also having really crazy things happening within their inner world, because everyone's going through something. Everyone's kind of forced to be independent. And to me, being independent is a big thing with awakening.
Wow. So June is going to be big. Interesting.
Massive.
Okay.
Well, it started from that eclipse, the Sagittarius eclipse. For a lot of people, to make the most of it, to be in tune with it, would be there'll be instances where you'll be doing something like the gardening, and something within doing the gardening brings back another memory. We are going through a stage where we have to clear those memories more powerfully than ever before, because it's in Sagittarius, which is the lessons you have learned. and it relates to the last 19 years. So what lessons you have learned to the last 19 years, and how can you let go of it to start something new? And we're going to want to start new projects. We're going to want to start new things. Right now, my advice for the next, till about the 8th of July, if you've got projects you want to start, do a taster session. Don't commit to something fully. We're in Mercury retrograde, so you're very susceptible to having clouded judgments. So just doing taster sessions until you're sure, there's nothing wrong with that. If you do really feel strongly about a decision, that is your intuition guiding you, go for it. There's a big misconception that you shouldn't make decisions with Mercury retrograde. If you feel strongly like that is the right way and it's within your intuition, that is your guidance, go for it. It's when you're unsure of something that you shouldn't really make a decision. In June, we will have more retrograde planets, and then we'll have another eclipse, and yeah, it's going to be a deeply emotional time. In January, we had our first square of Saturn and Uranus. That was our first. We have our second, and then we're going to have another one later in the year. So all these squares are really pushing us into uncomfortable spots, but they are making us reach our greater potential. A lot of people will be feeling it, and I'm sending love to every single one of them and letting them know you're not alone. How it falls in your chart will be unique to you, but everyone will be feeling it to some degree.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah. So happy June. I have done the forecast for the next few months. August will make up for it. August is great.
Oh, good.
Something to look forward to.
Yay.
But
that's awesome.
The thing is, June is great as well, because it doesn't have to be doom and gloom. It doesn't have to. You can make it whatever you want to make it to be. Yeah. If you're like, I'm ready to embrace these lessons, I'm ready to ride this wave, that is you working with the cosmic energy.
Right.
If you try work against it, like, oh my God, it's so overwhelming, you're not being in alignment with it, and you're making it more difficult for yourself. You're putting a resistance to a flow that wants to move in a certain way.
Yes. What was the word from your meditation class? Equanimous?
Yeah. Yeah, well remembered.
Yes. It stuck out to me because I thought that was so brilliant. Be equanimous, non-resistant.
Exactly.
Ride the wave.
Equanimity.
Equanimity. There we go. Yeah.
Life isn't happening to me, it's happening with me.
Yes. All right. This has been amazing. Thank you so much, Nikoletta. This is awesome. And I am going to put in the show notes how to connect with Nikoletta if you would like to get your own chart read. And Nikoletta, do you have anything that you want to add, or any closing words?
Yeah, I hope you guys are loving this eclipse season, and the ones that are in the northern hemisphere to enjoy your summer, and in the southern hemisphere your winter. We're coming up to the solstice, which is a very, very powerful time. And I just want to say that you guys are all magic, and whatever comes your way, you'll be able to face it head on. And it might seem tough right now, but it will only make you stronger.
Oh, beautiful. That's amazing. Thank you so much for being here. As always, it was amazing having you on.
No, thank you for having me, and thank you for just being so perfect at holding space. I think you're incredible. How do you do it?
I don't know. Thank you.
It's your destiny.
Thank you. Yeah, I think maybe in some way. Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much. This has been amazing. And thank you so much for all the information. It's been fabulous. So until next time, thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you guys.